Really? G'day guys, how you all doing? I'm just still doing a little bit of setup. Thanks for joining in. Give me one moment. I'm just setting up the comments to come through properly. I think they're coming through. This is actually an interesting comment there from Studio 243. Rukshan, don't use black and white photos. They can be frightening. I don't know if it's some superstitious thing. I haven't really thought about it in that way. The only good photo that I have that someone actually took of me a few years ago was that kind of black and white one where I'm used as my profile pic, where I'm looking down. So that's why I use that photo, but everything else is in color. So I hope you can forgive me if I have one photo in black and white. John, hey, how you doing, mate? Says, wonder what freaks we're going to be chatting about tonight. I've got a few stories lined up tonight, but I'm also going to touch on the March for Freedom as well, because that is an ongoing drama. I want to be able to provide the commentary of the drama as the weeks go on leading up to the 31st of August. But yeah, I do have a few stories, obviously, from Australia and a few others, international stories as well, from New Zealand and a couple of others from America that I found interesting as I was looking through the news today. And maybe you've seen these stories already. Obviously, the one from Australia, I have to talk about Albanese and the recognition by Hamas. So I'll touch on some of those. Well, the recognition of the state of Palestine, we already talked about that last couple of days. But the congratulations or the Hamas saying that Albanese is a courageous leader for the decisions that he's taken. So we'll talk about all of those things. But as always, guys, feel free to jump in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Join in on the conversation. And if you want to support my work, you can also do super chats via my YouTube. You can do those super chats, and I will bring them up and chat with you guys about those topics as well. But compared to when I'm with Avi, I'm a bit more liberal. I don't just read the super chats. I try to communicate with all of you through the chats. But if you want to support me, please feel free to do a super chat. It's always exciting to get super chats when Avi is not around. Now, first up, let's just jump into the. Here we go. Let's just look at some of these comments. It's from Mike, who wants to tell me I'm brown. Mike, it's obvious. I know I'm brown. I've known I'm brown my whole life. Parts of my internally, some parts I'm a bit lighter, and I do have family members who are a bit more light-skinned than me. But yes, I am aware that in the grand scheme of things and the color spectrum, that I do look brown. So there you go. And Mike also wants to remind me that I am not Australian. This is a common theme, of course, whenever I'm talking about things. That's the Sri Lankan man. Mate, your powers of observation are very good. I don't know if you're studying for some tests or something like this, but you're doing quite well at the moment. Guys, trolls are welcome as long as you're not doing death threats or anything derogatory in the comments, which are offensive in terms of an illegal sense. I will engage with silly trolls, and the only person, Mike, that's coping and seething here, I think, through these comments is you. I like the engagement, Please keep helping the algorithm. Um, Farmer says, why do people get so triggered by being called names? Rukshan, I wish you could go mainstream so the whole country could indulge. Mate, the only way that we can do that, look, it's probably not going to happen because I am the right, have the right type of privilege to be, on ABC or something, right? Because they do all these diversity hires. But my ideological views, where I'm more conservative, more right leaning, I don't have, those facets available to me because I can't help myself but just be honest about the things that I think and who I am, which don't normally go with the orthodoxy of the progressive left. So I am, that is to my detriment. But I am who I am, and Phoebe says, please don't amuse the abusers comments. Look, I found throughout my life, if I just engage with these people with these silly comments that they make and show them that there's really no power that they hold over me, then it just goes away because these type of comments don't really mean anything. I've heard this nonsense throughout my life and I've never really cared. What these people have to understand is that I grew up on the mean streets of Dandenong in the 90s, and it was a very tense environment. A lot of different ethnicities, all types of people, a lot of racial abuse that was tongue in cheek many of the times. But yeah, I don't really care about all this stuff. It's complete nonsense. Thanks, Skippy. Rukshan is a true blue Aussie. That's gonna trigger. That's gonna trigger Mike. It's gonna trigger Mike, and he's gonna have to cope and seethe when he sees this. That's like, Mike. Different white people see me different ways. I don't know what to tell you, mate. I don't know what to tell you. I think you guys got to figure this out. I know I am brown, and I definitely do love Australia, and I do definitely consider myself Australian. So let's get to some of these questions. Adrian, I'll get to this question. Do you condemn the killing of journalists in Gaza? I'm going to talk about Palestine issue a little bit later on, so I'll touch on some of that as well, maybe during that time. Molly, thanks for joining in on the show. I'll get distracted by the comments, guys, but I love just going off into tangents based on your comments. But first up, let's actually get into some of the stuff that I want to talk about today, which was this March. We've talked about it, over a couple of days now. There was a news article. I'll just read that roughly, and then I'll share some of the happenings around this because people are interested in this. A lot of the audience that follows me, on X or all these platforms, have been consistently talking about this march, and I've hope you've enjoyed my take on it so far, especially on Abby Chatfield. That some people told me they've actually started to unfollow me because, Rukshan, you've now turned into the mainstream as you are now critiquing these reality stars. So we don't want to see that on our feed, Rukshan. So they very politely messaged me and said, I'm unfollowing you because you talked about Abby Chatfield. So it's a poison chalice talking about Abby Chatfield, whichever way you look at it. So this is from the Daily Mail about this march on the 31st, the March for Australia. The Daily Mail says tens of thousands of Aussie patriots vow to take to the streets to protest in a very controversial issue, in a demonstration that could dwarf the Harbour Bridge March for Gaza. Huge anti-immigration protests are being planned across Australia just weeks after a massive pro-Palestine rally brought central Sydney to a standstill. A group called March for Australia is organising the August 31st protest and has described itself as a grassroots coalition of nationalists, patriots, and everyday Australians. It said the aim is for like-minded people to gather in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Canberra, Perth, and Adelaide to demand an end to mass immigration. I love how the news story actually left out Hobart. There's plans for Hobart as well. Tasmania is not being left out, as far as I know. For years, Australia's unity and shared values have been eroded by policies and movements that divide us. The March for Australia website states, our streets have seen growing displays of anti-Australian hatred, foreign conflicts, and disintegrating trust, whilst mass immigration has torn at the bonds that held our communities together. Earlier this month, New South Wales Police admitted that they were caught off guard. This is about the Sydney. We remember that rally on the Sydney Harbour Bridge for the pro-Palestine one. I don't want to go into that again. Okay, this just lists some statements from the police. Then what do we have? A March for Australia spokesman told Daily Mail it has not finalised locations, and so filing permits is not yet workable. Locations are to be finalised on the 15th of August, at which point permits will be able to be organised. Submission time requirements for most permits are incredibly short, ranging from 1 week to a couple of days before the event. Little is known about the people behind the group, but they have been forced to clarify that they are not affiliated with neo-Nazis. Thomas Sewell, an alleged member of neo-Nazi group National Socialist Network, posted on Telegram with a similar event, seemingly claiming to be behind it. In the image for the post, it promised a protest on August 31st at midday in the same cities with the same declaration: "It is time to take back our country." So yeah, the same kind of banner that Thomas Sewell from the NSN has put out there. We kind of went over this. If you didn't see the opposition podcast, we kind of talked about this yesterday as well, and you can see my other videos that I've done on this on my platforms. Below the poster, Sewell wrote, "White Australia and the NSN Vanguard have successfully completed the Winter National Summit. After only just arriving home from our summit today, I have been informed that foreign fifth columns, are attempting to hijack our August 31st public rally for Australia. Australians must say no to Israel, Palestine, Chinese, and Indian foreign interference, trying to hijack our common sense patriotic spirit." And then it goes on. So essentially, in terms of the media reporting on this, it's kind of positive. It's saying that there's a march that's going to happen, and it's expecting a lot of people, and allegedly it's going to dwarf the Harbour Bridge. So the Harbour Bridge protest, some people say there was 100,000 people, some people say there was 300,000 people, depending on which pro-Palestinian activist you ask. Police have given numbers for that particular rally at around 90,000 to 100,000. Now, if this dwarfs that, which is what, this could be just a clickbait headline, I don't know where they got this number from, but let's say it does dwarf that puts it somewhere at least at 100,000 people turning up or more, right? A couple of 100,000 people, right? So I can't say specifically exactly how much, but this is kind of the speculation that's going on. But overall, it's kind of a positive article on the intentions of the march. But then you do have the muddying of the waters there with the I guess the messages they put out by Thomas Sewell from the NSN, and the media picking up on that And I've talked about this before. A lot of the left wing, organizations like the counter protesters, they've picked up on this and called it a Nazi rally, and so on. And I understand where that comes from, because these organizations are putting their face to it, right? Thomas Sewell is actually putting his face to it and saying that this is my thing, right? And I know there's another whole organization behind it as well, March for Australia, apparently, and they've come out with a statement saying that no, they're not linked to this person at all. They're just trying to hijack it, and this is a totally separate thing. And apparently, I've been listening to some spaces on this and things, and people are saying that there's going to be more details about who the organizers are, especially when they're applying for permits and stuff, and people will know more information when the time is right about who's behind these different things. But when you do have something like this, there's a lot of drama and speculation. So I'm going to go through some of the posts that people have put up around this, just for clarity's sake. Different views and different opinions. And then, I'll move on to the news after that. So let's have a first look at Bob Katter, who is a senator or MP. Let's see what he said about this, because he did put out a video about this. Let's have a listen to that. It goes for about, I think, a minute 40, and I'll read your comments while we're playing that video. So just give me a moment to get this going.
March on the 31st of August against migration. We will be throwing everything behind the Sunday march on the 31st of August against migration. Our race of people, our country, is drowning in a flood of migration. Now, surely if you're going to bring people to this country, there should be some sort of integration factor. I mean, do they come from a democracy? Do they come from a country with rule of law? Do they come from a country with Christianity? I'm not saying go to church, but love your neighbour, make the world a better place. Do they come from a country with industrial awards? Do they come from a country with egalitarian traditions? There are over 500,000 that have come here. No. No, we're moving legislation to say it stops. Authority will be set up, representative of the Australian people. And if you say, well, where are you going to bring them from? Well, if you say democracy, rule of law, Christianity, love your neighbour, that sort of thing, egalitarian traditions, industrial awards. Well, Philippines, tick, 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 the Philippines. The Sikhs in India, tick, tick, tick. Sikh religion is almost identical to Christianity. Tick, tick, right? Poland, tick, 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 tick. Now, the people of Australia are now in a rage and a fury. And if you show contempt for the people of Australia, they will deal with you in 2.5 years' time at the next election. They will deal with you.
Well, so that's Bob Catter's video. I think he needs some actually assistance with some of the video filming sometimes. It was very hard to hear at certain occasions, but you kind of got the, in classic Catter style around this march. So that's a view from him, and I'm putting up some of your comments as you go in. Different people have different opinions. Again, my mind is not fully set. I've been very positive in terms of when I first heard about this thing after, just kind of the organic circulation of it before we knew the faces and the people behind it. I was kind of excited about it, and I still remain hopeful that if it does actually go ahead, because there's a bit of momentum behind it, that overall it will be a positive thing. So I don't want to, FUD the event and, turn people off it. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just sharing the different information that people are talking about on this. And I think that's important because at the end of the day, a lot of people may be going to something like for the first time, or maybe they're worried about the implications of turning up. Whatever it is, I think people need to be informed. I think that's the least that, people like myself and others can do. Just share with people the information and maybe debunk some of the conspiracies around it, or show maybe why some things are right, and so on. So it's not necessarily that what I'm talking about this is not to dissuade people from attending, because as far as I'm concerned, whatever's going on for me, in terms of anything else around this thing, I will be attending in my capacity to actually live stream or cover whatever happens on that day, because something's going to happen on that day, right? So I'll be there in that capacity, regardless of anything else that's happening around this. But as far as I can tell now, there is a lot of momentum behind this, and a lot of people are, still very excited about this type of concept. Like so many people, when I see their commentary on this, even on my Abby Chatfield videos, where Abby Chatfield's kind of lost her mind around all of this, people are still very excited about just showing up on the day with their Australian flag, just to say, we're really proud of our flag, we're really proud of our country, and yes, we're sick of things like mass immigration and these problems that we have in this nation. So that's still happening. It's just very unfortunate that there's this other thing going on at the same time, where there's a lot of doubt that's being cast around the intentions and perhaps the people involved. And I say this, like when I talk about a group like, the NSN, the way that they kind of muddy the waters and poison the well by statements that they make, the way that they allow the media and other groups to link them to this kind of event, and then by extension link everyone else, that is down to their intellect. Like they're not very intelligent in terms of being, seeing this groundswell perhaps of support in the general public against a concept like mass immigration, which is a natural reaction that people are having to some of the problems that they're seeing. And then, them linking it to their own extremism, because they're just like, they're not all there, these people, right? But the rumors will persist now. And, the sides that want to, especially the political left and the media, will always use that now to bludgeon people that attend these rallies. The only way that you can overcome that is really just by having a very positive rally on the 31st, where a lot of that things are overcome. But there's a lot of time to go still, so there is that. Let's have a look at some of your super chats. They might not be related, but thanks, Skippy. Let's read this one first. For the grift and the transcript, thanks, mate. Thanks for contributing to the grift and the transcript. I believe Chris Coveries or Chris Ovaries will be watching today and taking the transcript of this. And yeah, apparently I'm brown. Even myself, I'm just finding out today that I'm brown. So people actually, all the time, whenever I'm talking on X, there's a lot of people that come on, these ethno-nationalist types, and they'll be like telling me, "Rukshan, you're brown." I'm like, "Yeah, so what? Like, what are you trying to say that you're brown?" I've known my whole life. It's not a big deal. So that's interesting. This is a question from Glenn Manning. Do you know Big Chalky Rukshan? No, not besides just following what he's doing on Instagram. I think I see a lot of stuff on Instagram. I'm recently new to going back onto TikTok. I believe he's on there as well, but I do see that he gets a lot of traction on these topics that he talks about. So it's interesting that you're saying that he's put out a video telling people not to attend. I'll try to find that video and see what people are saying. Let's see what else will they say. The left will say you're white, Rukshan. I mean, look, guys, if we're living in a time where a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man, all these things are accepted. Really, like, I'm just saying, in the predominant themes of what's progressively accepted, skin color is the least of the worries that we should be having about in terms of the way people identify. It's quite insane, the way things have gone, right? Who cares if you're purple? Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really see people through skin color in that way. I think it's okay to talk about skin color. I actually think it's okay to identify people based on race. I think it's okay to highlight the difference between different ethnicities and different races, the good and the bad things, right? These days, we're just encouraged to talk about the good things and ignore all the bad things. But there are certain differences between certain racial groups that do exist. Now, sometimes living in a country for a certain amount of time and having different values and customs, those things change over time. Like when I go to, visit family sometimes in Sri Lanka, the place of my heritage, I'm very different to my cousins there because of my upbringing here in Australia. Like we're not alike whatsoever in our attitudes, our values, and things like this. Like there's like a massive gap between me. And I also have a lot of family that live in Italy. I have about maybe I think probably in Italy, my family from my dad's side, I think we have about maybe close to, this is extended relatives as well, close to about 150 relatives in Italy. I'll explain that later at some other point. And my outlook and their outlook, and they speak fluent Italian, have Italian style names, all these things, but we're very different as well. So depending on your upbringing and where you are, those values come to you, right? So it's not always skin color. There's a lot of things going on. Yeah, there's a lot of complexities going on. No, I did not see Wolfie. Thanks for the comment. Did you see the person who colored their skin in blue ink? But yeah, look, these days people obviously go crazy with all that stuff. Maconomics says, I know you were Italian. Look, I'm telling you, it's very interesting. Sometimes when we have family gatherings and some of the Italian cousins are down and I'm just there and they're just all speaking in like fluent Italian. Because, obviously the kids have grown up there their whole lives, just fluent Italian, just fighting with each other. You can imagine what it's like. It's like a Italian, one of those movies or whatever, or like whatever you can imagine, Italians just yelling at each other on the street. That's what it's like sometimes. And we live in interesting times in an interesting world, so there is a lot of that going on. So that's Bob Catter. So I played Bob Catter's video, guys, and we saw he's telling people to turn up. There was some other part as well. I think he was talking about egging politicians. If you see politicians turn up from the major parties. Now, I don't condone that. I think that's almost a level of incitement. So I hope that doesn't happen and everything stays peaceful on this day. But yeah, let's go to the next reaction that I want to look at. And this is from Joel Jamal. He's from Turning Point, Australia. This is what Joel Jamal has said about this rally.
Who's organising this rally because of the lack of training. All right, let's talk about the rally on the 31st of August. Who's organising it? Why is Abby Chatfield attacking it? Why is the mainstream media promoting it? Who is actually going to be speaking at the event? In order to answer these questions, you need to understand how this whole thing kicked off. It basically kicked off from this TikTok account from South Australia. A young bloke who we've had a chat to, 18 years old. He saw the Harbour Bridge protest. He didn't like it. He's basically very discontent with the nature of where Australia's at. Australia's broken. Red tape's out of control. Net zero's out of control. Farmers are being destroyed. Digital IDs gone crazy. We've got runaway inflation on the horizon. Australia, nothing works anymore in this country, and he's nostalgic for what Australia used to be. The problem is that thing went viral with 1.5 million views on TikTok, and then the next post he did was he just threw a date out there, the 31st of August. He was the first one to do it. He had no planning in mind as to who's going to organize the rally in every state. His heart was in the right place, but there was no follow through. he was contacted by some people in these white nationalist circles that basically I've got on record inciting violence on Twitter Spaces, people who are basically in bed with the National Socialist Network. And when he realized that these people, he just handed the event to them, he's basically deleted the posts on his TikTok and he's trying to lay low. And so now we've got this really disappointing situation where people haven't quite worked out yet who's organizing this rally because of the lack of transparency. And this is simply not how we achieve the Canberra protests, where we mobilized 250,000 people to Canberra. We had clear outcomes. We had a clear face to the protest. And we very clearly we achieved the outcomes that we wanted. We had 33 successful outcomes that came out after the Canberra protests. Now, that's not what's going on with this. We don't have that level of transparency. And a lot of people are asking me about, is this a false flag? What's going on? Guys, it's just simply mismanagement. That's what's happened. And it's unfortunate, but I'm really pleased to say that I've spoken to some credible protest organizers, people like Tricky and others from the major cities, and they are organizing a rally for mid-September, a couple of weeks after this one, that's properly done. It's got proper messaging. It's got credible people that are actually going to be speaking at the rally. I'm going to be getting behind that one, not this one, because of the lack of information on this. But I'll leave that to you guys. This is what I found. I leave this information in your hands to do what you will. God bless you all. It's an unfortunate situation, but this is just what I found.
All right, so that's the opinion of Joel Jamal there from Turning Point Australia. So again, some people are saying in the comments that it should go ahead regardless, and these are just opinions. And I think Joel is just trying to give information about how this all panned out, because people are getting a lot of questions. Like, I do get messages in my inbox of people asking me, Rukshan, should I attend? Is it a white supremacist event? They say, Rukshan, I'm an immigrant. I love Australia. I really want to go, but I'm really worried that I'm not welcome there. And I think that's up to the organizers, really, to actually clarify that. And they've tried to, I think, but there still are, little things that pop up here and there, little recordings and things that they say in spaces, which leads people to believe that there's something else going on. And I'm not trying to, fud this whatever's happening on the August 31st, because I'm someone that's posted saying that I'm looking forward to marching, and I'm getting attacked by these left-wing people telling me that, Rukshan, you're taking part in the Nazi rally. They're gonna beat you up. They hate you. They don't want you there. Why are you spreading this stuff, Rukshan? Why don't you denounce these Nazis? And I'm just trying to say that I see a lot of positive behind it as well. I see a lot of people that are not in that vein who really want to be there, but we do have these other elements that some people say are poisoning the well. So many feds that might be in relation to the NSN. So that's the comment from Joel Jamal. Again, let's have a look at another one I'm going to bring up here. This is from Monica Smith from Reignite Democracy. It's blurred. Let me just unblur that my screen for a second. So Monica says, mark my words, there will be violence, real racism and Nazism at the 31st August event. Whether real or planted, doesn't matter. Then the government will use that to limit freedom of protest for everyone. So, that's a very kind of clear line in the sand that Monica's taken on this. Again, people have gone to that and said, hey, you're trying to scare everyone. People want to go. Stop trying to fud the event. By fun, I mean stop trying to make people afraid to attend, and they've accused Monica of all sorts of things. She's come back and said, "Look, I'm confident with my views. I don't feel right about this, and I don't feel right about encouraging people because there are these other elements that she's worried about." Okay, that's what's happening there. So as you can already see, there's a lot of confusion around all of this, right? So then there's another comment here that I'll read. If I can get it going, just bear with me for a moment. This is from a group I believe in Queensland, and I've met this person before, Tristan Tricky. So let's just read what he said. Okay, again, I'm just reading these statements. I'm not saying that these are correct or I'm agreeing with this. For the people that will try to attack me for this, I'm just providing information, guys, and we need to be informed. Like, people need to be informed. There's this whole attitude now of like, ignore all of this, but there is this going on as well. So this Tricky person, he writes, I can zoom into it. TPR was originally willing to get involved and help with plans for the march on August 31st. Now it turns out to be run by self-proclaimed white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and racists, as the video sent to us clearly shows. Extremely disappointing. The People's Revolution has nothing to do with events on August 31st, and we are steering clear. You are free to watch the video, look at three people's own pages, and make your own mind. We are in discussion with other reputable people and groups from around the nation and have agreed to work together to put monster marches in every capital city next month. So it goes on, but it looks like there are a couple of groups that are, doing their own events at a later point. Okay, so then I've seen the allegations of, oh, well, these are just, organizers and they weren't involved in this. So everyone's jealous and they're creating their own events because they want to have control. People don't like the whole anonymous thing. So there's so much drama around just marching for the country of Australia. Like, that's how complicated it is to say, as a country, let's all go out there and support the country, right? There's all these different things involved. Swindon, I'll put up your comment. This whole circus has really been hilarious for me to see how much all these people talk completely out of their ass, laughing my ass off. I mean, that's the view. And he says, I'm included in this. Look, I'm a part of the drama. I do admit I am a part of the drama because I'm commentating on it. It's what it is. It's for entertainment in terms of my commentary. It's for entertainment. If you guys want to, watch it, watch. Otherwise, you can log off, Swindon. So that's one view, right? And then someone's telling me that Big Chalky has also put up he's got a fair big following of people that follow him. So let's have a look if I can bring up Big Chalky's video and see what he says. Oh, it's come up on my stream, the first thing. Let's have a look. See what Big Chalky says.
And the answer's fuck no. Why? It's organised by the NSN. These guys. And one of the main ladies behind this is what she had to say.
I said, okay, so protect Australian heritage, culture, way of life. The next step, protect European culture, heritage, way of life. The next step is protect white heritage. So it all means the same thing.
As someone that is a proud Australian, yet of colour, I'm not supporting that. That's not about a free Australia. That's not about an Australia that we talk about, that we want. That is an extreme agenda hiding behind the Australian flag. And I've said it time and time again, I will not stand for any extremism within this country. And there is nothing more that I hate than fucking racists. So if you believe in what I say, don't attend this march. Share this far and fucking wide. There's going to be a video in my link tree of all the receipts that you need to believe this is run by the NSN. And there will be another march coming, and it will be for all Australians that are proud Australians. It'll be coming soon. I promise. And that's my take from the controversial coach. If you don't like it, fuck off. Chalky out. Let's talk about the march on the 31st of August. People keep asking if I'm going, and the answer's fuck no.
So that's what he said at the start. Maybe I should do like Big Chalky when I do my videos and tell people to F off as well. I try to restrain myself from using curse words, but maybe I should copy his style because it seems kind of fun just to say something and be like, F off. And look, that's his view. And this is the thing, right? So you heard that recording of someone called Beck Freedom, who is put herself up as a liaison with all the state organizers. And I think she has a way of speaking which she is unable to hide her true intentions. And she speaks in a way where people are, I think, recording these spaces. I'm sent recordings from these kind of spaces all the time. And a lot of the times, I don't actually share them a lot of the times because it's completely out of context. I shared it once because it was very serious things that they were talking about, like violence and things like this. And I was like, is there a full recording of this? Because whatever they're talking about sounds pretty serious. But you heard from that recording of Beck Freedom talking about this. And now she might have a go at me for this, but her talking about it, where she's like, guys, we will say to the public it's about Australian just to keep it all safe and, kosher. Right? We'll say it's about Australian. But really, what we really mean is white Australia. And I think that's the problem. There's a lot of people in this country who are of all, like Chalky, right? Who have like these kind of followings and many others like this that would, love Australia, that support the country, would want to support something like this because they're patriots, they're patriotic about the nation. But then they hear this element about this kind of white supremacy and the hidden agendas that they don't want to make known to the public. And again, it just poisons the well. It's just ineffective communication, like Joel said in his video. The messaging around this has just been completely scrambled. by people I think just perhaps do have ulterior views and motives, or just perhaps just their views are, different to other people. And that's fine. Like, if you want to do a white supremacy, white people only march, just come out and say it. Just say that this is what this is. Why do you want to trick people to be there? Right? If you don't want people like that there, why do you want to trick them to be there? So you can be like, oh, well, all these people agree with us as well. And, we had a lot of numbers just for numbers. Like, why trick people? Just tell the truth. I think if you want to hold your own white Australia protest with just white Australians, just do it. I think people, should be free to do that. I support your right to do that. But just make that clear, is, I think, what a lot of people are saying. Judy B, she says, the selected sound bites of conversations and thoughts, testing out shit, noting that this rest of the conversation that could have turned that around, just like a bunch of people sitting in a lounge room. Look, I do concede that a lot of this is sound bites, right? A lot of bits and pieces of things. But over a period of time, when there's like a pattern emerging, again, doesn't matter the full context. Sometimes when these things kind of go viral, when people start talking about these things, the full context doesn't matter. I'm taken out of context all the time. No one's ever going to hear the full recording. If you're watching this video right now and you want to take out a snippet of what I've said, do you think it's going to be the whole recording that people watch? No, they'll just watch that select bit. So as people who take responsibility, who take ownership for a rally or an event, what you say, and especially when you're speaking in public, becomes a part of the discussion around it. And I think some of the things that people are saying tends to lead people to believe that something else is going on. But again, I haven't written this all off. Personally, no. I haven't written it all off. And I know that people criticize me for this, but I don't want to do that, because I do see, again, a lot of people that want to partake in something like this. So I'm just still evaluating those things, and I'm not someone, this is a natural thing. It's got nothing to do with me, right? I'm not going to be the one that pulls the strings. That's not the reality of this, right? This is, if people want to go, people will go. This will be something regardless of what anyone that you've just watched is saying, if people turn up. It's just, as of right now, in terms of the drama, people are talking about these things. Judy B says, it's not about tricking people. It's not about white supremacy. All people of race are welcome to. So yeah, that's, I see that being said. Perhaps it needs to be further clarified by these organizers who apparently are putting their faces to it or names to it at a later point. And that might make people more comfortable, because what do you want for this type of movement? If you actually want to make change in this country, realistic change, it's going to take a lot more than just, one group of people to do that. To change the direction of this country. So the more people that are behind it, obviously, the more better. Jack Daniel is not happy. Mate, you're a pro-lockdown wedding photographer. F you talk shit. Thanks, mate. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hate watching. I'm enjoying your company here, knowing that you are still watching. I'll just play one more message from Judy. So more details is expected to unfold soon. A lot of detractors, all big platformers, constantly don't get lost in the hype of those who seek to derail. So yeah, like that. I hope you guys have spent the first half of the show today talking about this rally as well. I'm giving it attention. Like I said, I'll be covering this rally as it happens on the 31st, regardless of any of the things that are said about it. I'm going to go there in my capacity to film and document what goes on, because I do believe, regardless of whatever happens, there's going to be a lot of shenanigans in terms of the way that this is reported. So at least if I can get some on the ground film, we can match up some of the issues that are going to arise from this, because no doubt there's going to be all types of actors there that gonna lead it in its own direction. I'm not saying the march itself. I'm saying there's people coming from Antifa. There's people coming from the left. They're organizing their own militant opposition to it, and so on. Economics says, no more attention, please. It doesn't deserve any. Well, it is being discussed a lot. I see it posted everywhere, right? So it is a kind of social phenomena. And someone did say earlier, they are a bit worried by the fact that the media is hyping it up so much. It feels kind of like a setup, like in that sense, like it's been played up a lot. but that could just lead to, you know, them trying to just play off the fact that people are just discussing it, right? They want to be a part of that discussion as well. But we probably will see a lot more points being made around this by people like Jacinta Allen and other premiers and things like this, getting closer to the date, especially with the police. You'll try to see them get tough around all of this. I'll just get to the super chat that I've had, so let's bring that up. Mate Skippy, thanks for the super chats, mate. I'm from one true blue Aussie to another. Thanks, mate. I appreciate the super chat. Guys, yeah, you can do a super chat if you want on YouTube if you want to support the show. Otherwise, just watch and enjoy. Skippy, I'll just read this comment as well. It was a legit protest, but everyone paranoia led us to a dystopia instead. Yeah, look, people are pretty paranoid. I will say that. People are pretty paranoid. You know, a lot of people are worried about putting their names to things and promoting things because you do need promotion. You do need people to push it. You do need people to get the word out and get more people to turn up. You do need positive reinforcement of something like this because there is a lot of negative reinforcement in terms of people like, you know, Abby Chatfield and these kind of big social accounts that have a bit of clout on the other side who are completely obsessed with bringing this protest down. So it's good to have both, you know, people supporting it as well. Just one more comment around this. It's very disappointing that this has been hijacked. I knew it would. Look, I think it's just, again, the nature of the way that it was set up as an anonymous thing. It just makes it easier to hijack, right? You don't have someone that's from the start, get-go, put their name to it. You know, then you can create all types of narratives and things around it. So I think that's kind of what's happened, and it is unfortunate, but let's see what happens as the days unfold. One more announcement on a protest that's coming up, which I don't think there's any confusion over. Craig Kelly's really been pushing this one and putting out details around this, so I'll just put this up for information as well, so people that are in, I think especially in New South Wales, can know about that this is coming up. And I'm glad I'm doing this live show because I can share this with people and then they can get these things out more as well. Because in the past, people are always like, oh, Rukshan, I wish I knew about that protest. You know, instead of watching it on the live, I would have just loved to be in there. So I don't think I'll be at this particular protest, but I'm just going to share this information. So if you protest against, this is Craig Kelly saying this, if you protest against anything in your life, make it a protest against digital ID and biometric facial scanning. Because if we lose this fight, you may never get to protest again against any government policy ever again. And this is all alluding to the changes which we're going to see, especially come, I think, December 15th, something like this, with the social media ban for the under 16s and the way that they want to implement that by scanning your faces and digital IDs. The eventual conclusion is some type of government surveillance or tracking mechanism for them to verify who you are online. So this is what this protest is about, and this is from Craig Kelly. He's put this up. So public protest rally, stop e-safety Karen. That is Julie Imam Grant, our e-safety officer that we affectionately call the E-Karen. No digital ID, no biometric facial scanning. It'll be at 1 p.m. Saturday, 13th of September at Primont Bay Park, to be confirmed, opposite the Star City Casino. So we got the Honourable Ross Cameron, former federal MP, speaking, and then more details to follow. So keep an eye on that. That's happening on the 13th of September at 1 p.m. I think if you're in New South Wales, obviously, it's a lot easier for you to be a part of. I don't believe there's any other ones happening related to that one in other parts of the country. And this is related to the previous one. So Catherine, yeah, it was apparently a young lad from South Australia and the Nazis took it over. Yeah, I did play some of that before as well. Anyway, guys, that's enough for the protest drama. Feels like some of the COVID days back in the day when all these protests and things were going on. There was always some type of drama there. Let's have a look at our esteemed Prime Minister, Albanese. He's been out and about today eating pies, of course, and now drinking beer. He's happy about the beer tax. Let's just bring this video that he put up.
Yeah! So enjoy one and think of that frozen beer tax. Thanks a lot. We have frozen the excise on beer. Yeah! So enjoy one and think of that frozen beer tax. Thanks a lot. We have
I'm not going to go into the beer tax stuff, but Albanese is very happy. He's boozed up. He's drinking beer. He's in good spirits these days, and I don't know if that actually has to do. Someone says it's wannabe fake shit. Yeah, look, whenever you see a politician at a pub drinking beer or holding a baby, these kind of stunts, they're tried and true, but they will always try to pull it off. I guess at least on this occasion, when it comes to this particular thing, he's talking about a beer tax. So it wasn't just a prop; it was about the beer tax. But yeah, freezing. I think they've frozen the beer tax, right? Maybe we'll talk. We might talk about that tomorrow on the opposition podcast. But I wanted to bring up this particular story, which is Albanese is now very popular with Middle Eastern terror groups. So let's have a read of this story, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on this. So this is terror group Hamas. This is today. Terror group Hamas celebrates Anthony Albanese's political courage after recognizing Palestine. Terror group Hamas has heaped praise on Anthony Albanese, Prime Minister, or his political courage after he recognized Palestinian statehood. A senior Hamas leader has praised Australia's recognition of Palestinian statehood, celebrating Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's political courage. Hamas co-founder Sheikh Hassan Youssef, a prominent figure in the West Bank, said, "We welcome Australia's decision to recognize the state of Palestine and consider it an important step towards achieving justice for our people and securing their legitimate rights." Youssef said the announcement showed political courage, direct quote, and urged other governments to do the same. This position reflects political courage and a commitment to the values of justice and the right of people to self-determination, he told the Sydney Morning Herald. The endorsement of Prime Minister's decision comes only days after he insisted Hamas would be isolated from the statehood process. Mr. Albanese claimed he had assurances from controversial Palestinian Authority that the terror group would not be involved in governing the territories. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It has no role to play in Hamas. I've seen of some of the comments that have been made about Hamas somehow being rewarded. This is the opposite of what Hamas wants. Hamas wants one state, Mr. Albanese told today on Tuesday. Sorry, I'm just riddling. The way that Albanese speaks, it's hard to actually read what he says. However, Foreign Minister Penny Wong has said Palestinian recognition would come regardless of whether the PA's assurances were met. Anyway, it goes on. Basically, what happened is this Hamas leader, this former co-founder, said that, hey, Albanese, great political courage, well done. And then he went on to say what we did on October 7th and aided in the world opening their eyes to this. So therefore, these results that we're getting around the world, results like Albanese technically bending the knee to Hamas was as a result of what they did on October 7th. Like that was the jux of the crux, of what these Hamas people were saying. So, and that's got a lot of coverage, right? That's got a lot of coverage. A comment like that is going to get a lot of coverage, regardless of your particular views on this war. It really comes down to the fact that Hamas has said Albanese acted with courage, and then if you consider the fact that this is a terrorist organization, that brings up all types of valid questions around Albanese and his decision making prowess. So I said to this, and this is a bit of tongue in cheek, right? This kind of offends people sometimes, but I'm just commenting on the Australian Prime Minister, guys. I said, breaking, this is all satire. PM Albanese's approval rating amongst registered global terrorist organizations just hit an all-time high. Hamas approval is up to 100%. ISIS approval is up to 100%. Al-Qaeda approval is also up to 100%. Terrorists broadly agreed that Australia becoming a state sponsor of terrorism would encourage them to continue to focus on terror to achieve their aims, thanking the PM for his courage. Albanese was seen eating a pie to celebrate the recognition of his courage and told reporters that he never thought a boy from the Commission Flats would end up having such an impact on advancing the cause of terrorism worldwide. There you go. That's Albo. That's that random photo of Albo, not from today. Look, this is my opinion, guys. Like, we are technically, if you break it down and you look at this without getting emotional about the conflict over there, technically Australia is a state sponsor of terrorism by negotiating with these type of individuals. we have Hamas now praising Australia and Albanese for his courage. And that just gives illicit approval of the acts that they committed on October 7th. Now, you can talk about all types of things from the past. I get that. I see that all the time in the comments. But if we're just looking at this one single act of Albanese, this is what it boils down to, that terrorist organizations have now praised, welcomed Australia's decision to recognize the state of Palestine and praised Albanese for his courage and said themselves that October 7th, this is the fruits of October 7th. By doing what they did on that day, they've managed to get people like Albanese to do this, right? That's the crux of it. Let me see your comments around this before I go to the next story. I'll see what some of you guys have said about this. I also got another super chat here, so I'll bring that up as well. Abby, how are you doing? Thanks for joining in again. And joining us again, joining me by myself. We had an awesome show yesterday. If you guys haven't watched the Opposition podcast, 7 o'clock last night, we had a great time raising super chats that night to get rid of purple pingers off the screen. That was so much fun. I can't believe the community actually raised, I think, $100-something, $120 or $130, just remove purple pingers off the screen. That was a lot of fun. Abby says, March for Australia just put another post. Can you have a look, please? All right, cool. Give me a moment. I'll pull up that post from March from Australia. Let's have a look. So I'm guessing that's on their Facebook. These guys are just going to have to bear with me, and I'll search up this post from March from Australia. All right, another press release, urgent press release. Let's have a look what they're saying. All right, let's read this. We were talking about this earlier, but this is just breaking news 45 minutes ago. I'm sorry I didn't see this while I was doing my non-existent prep for this show. I actually don't prep for this show besides just bookmarking some links as I'm seeing it throughout the day. So there's no pre-planning, guys. I'm just literally going off the cuff here. So March for Australia says, it's pretty small text, but I'll read it to you. In the early stages of the March building momentum, there were a number of separate organizers of the rally who had different original intents for the event. While these groups were attempting to claim ownership over the event, March for Australia was formalized with the original purpose of the march. Since then, these parties have been brought under a singular banner with a singular focus, a march addressing the Australian government's ongoing policy of mass immigration. March for Australia has been consistent with our messaging from the start. Organisers, promoters and affiliates will share updates on the protests through their own channels. The political views of individual organisers do not necessarily reflect the views of the organisation. All details regarding the intent of the protest can be found on our website and previous posts on our official social media accounts. Due to the nature of how March for Australia developed, our organisers have come from a diverse range of political backgrounds. None of our organisers are associated with the National Socialist Network, White Australia or Thomas Sowell Uncensored. Further to this, none of our organisers are associated with any Israeli, Zionist, Jewish or Palestinian groups. Refusal of our organisation to accept donations or sell merchandise through our online platforms has articulated on August 11th has led to threats to derail the event by individuals who wish to work with us until this refusal. Some of these financially interested parties have now turned on this rally and are attempting to promote their own event, which they can sell merchandise for. We do not sell merchandise and we do not request donations. Please do not engage with anyone requesting donations on behalf of March for Australia. Such parties are not associated with our organisation or with this march and should not be trusted. On August 15th, we will release the times and locations for our upcoming marches. This event is building steam and we look forward to seeing you on the day. So that is their press release that they've just put out 45 minutes ago, and that touches on, I guess, some of the things that we were talking about maybe 20 minutes ago, right? So they're saying that they've again distanced themselves from the white nationalist movement or the NSN, Thomas Sowell. Again, I'm telling you, these guys just poison the well, right? Whatever you think of these guys, whatever opinions that you might personally have, and even if you support them and things like this, this is they're doing, right? That's the biggest problem is them, because really, why would you want to associate the sentiments of Australians, right, with Nazism, right? These guys can't help it, right? They're not just a normal nationalist movement. these idiots will celebrate Hitler's birthday. They'll go on about, Mein Kampf. They'll do all these kind of nonsense, which is related to Hitlerism. And you might be like, oh, online, people talk about this stuff on X all the time. Well, in the real world, no one wants to have anything to do with that nonsense. And that actually freaks people out, right? So if you're trying to build a nationwide march, right, and you want people to come out in support of, issues like mass immigration, which this group really seems to care about, trying to link people to Nazism and, claiming the event and doing, retarded things like this just shows you the IQ levels of these individuals. Like, they're not thinking any of this through. If it was them, I'm just saying, they're not very bright. They're only interested in hijacking things, trying to recruit people. A lot of these guys are losers, right? So they're just not there. They're just not all there. And unfortunately, everyone else in the community, and maybe even these innocent organizations, like, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. They say they don't want anything to do with them. And even they're impacted, right? Even just the act of showing up and marching for the country is impacted by these kind of idiots that want to make everything about Hitler, right? So these guys need to get professional help. They have all sorts of issues, and they're living in a different world. That is not the reality of the way that we need to solve a lot of these complex issues. And they might be like, oh, well, we did this, we can do this. Mate, no one cares. Like, the real world is already, what you're seeing right now is the rejection of groups like NSN because they're poison. So if they're even being rejected at this level because it's become such a problem, you can imagine when they want to do further things that they go on about with their bucket hats and their masks and just looking like retards. People are going to reject them, and they just have to deal with it. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what the comments are. Why am I the only person watching and engaging? Answer my question. You and Avi off to Israel? No, mate, we're in Australia. I don't know. Are we off to Israel? Do you know something that I don't know? Am I going to get the trip to Israel? Is that set in my agenda by Mossad? I'm not sure. Miss Mamba says, I won't join any protest that is run by an anonymous person. Well, look, to their credit, to the credit of this organization, they're saying that more details will be known. And, they might have faces to the different organizers in the different states. So that's good. At least then there'll be a point of contact, right? There'll be people that you can say that these are the people that are organizing and running it. Interestingly, they do kind of allude to the fact that there were possibly people at the start of this process where they had different opinions and views about politics, and that's fine. We're a diverse country in terms of our political views. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with nationalism. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. We have free speech. People are entitled to be, if they want to, discuss amongst themselves in some group these kind of views, they're entitled to it. That's all fine. But if you're not upfront about it, of course, not everyone supports it. Like this idea that somehow everyone supports white supremacy and Nazism is just deranged. Like even half of I'm not even that extreme to the right. I don't believe in those things. But even my ideas, like just normal conservative right ideas, a lot of the population in Australia will reject those ideas. They don't want to have anything to do with it. Why do you think Labor won so many seats and the Greens keep winning, and parties like the Liberal Party keep getting rejected? There's a lot of work to do to get people on side with a lot of like these kind of basic right wing ideas or just conservative ideas, or just saying things about normal ideas like mass immigration to get people on board to support stopping something like that is very difficult. You don't go to the most extreme position of, hey, guys, you know what? Come out on the 31st. Come march with us. We're all white supremacists. We're Nazis. Yeah, we're the ones organizing the event. Come out, and this is how we're going to stop mass immigration. Like, if you think that is a realistic thing, you're just not there. And you're just not going to be successful in changing the direction of this country, unfortunately. And you're going to lead to things like this. And people are going to be like, oh, but you don't have to be fearful. You can just like have some courage and do what you really want to say and say what you really want to say. No one wants to do that. No one wants to do this Nazism stuff. Have your little men's group, go out and do your marches, practice all those things, go to your little caves and things that you do in your little gyms and talk to each other about Hitler and, how great it all is. But the rest of the community overwhelmingly will reject it. And this is what happens at the end of it all. Let's have a look at the comments, guys. Did Rukshan say retard? I'm sorry. That's probably the only word that I use. Like maybe that might offend some people. But I think certain groups deserve that label. I'm gonna just catch up on the comments, guys. But yeah, keep going. And I'll think of that. They say the neo-Nazis already hate you, though. If you go pro-Zionist, they will neck you. Look, I get the death threats. I do get the threats. I don't know if it's from them. But yeah, I'm getting threats in my inbox right now for sure. It's like not to turn up. It's just all anonymous troll accounts. I don't think it's those guys. I don't think they've gone that far deep. I don't know. But there are people making threats. Of course, there are people making threats in my comments all the time to hurt me. Even just for turning up on the 31st, I've had threats of what should happen to me. Because I want to be there with the Australian people with the flag, and apparently, if I turn up, they have to attack me, which is crazy. So this is the things that people don't want to be involved with, because the general population, 99.9% of people, are not insane like that. Okay. I'm just going to keep going with the stories, guys. So I did have to divert there for a little bit because that, I guess, breaking news that came up. So let's go to the next story. And this is from New Zealand. This is our friend Jacinda Ardern. We haven't heard that name in a long time, and I haven't been following. I haven't been following this story that closely, but I might look into this now because I didn't know New Zealand was having a. Maybe I did know. I think maybe I reported on this like last year or something, or started last year, but they were having an inquiry into COVID, and now there's about information about a public inquiry that they want to have, where they testify in front of the public. But Jacinda Ardern and Chris Hipkins declined requests to appear at COVID inquiry. Former Prime Minister Dame Jesus. Former Prime Minister Dame Jacinda Ardern and other former Labour ministers have declined a request to appear publicly to give evidence at the Royal Commission of Inquiry into COVID-19. The second phase of the inquiry is underway now, and Chair Grant Illingworth, KC, wanted to hear from those who were making decisions and ran the response. Labour's political opponents, now in government, called the declined request disappointing. That is disappointing. Like, Jacinda Ardern was a fundamental decision maker during that time in New Zealand when it came to COVID policy. She's actually celebrated around the world for the decisions that she took. But now, Dame Jacinda Ardern, right, since becoming a dame, doesn't want to be in the public eye when giving evidence. She thinks the public that she actually, ruled over during that time, she doesn't need to answer questions for anything that she did during that time. But I think the party that's in power right now, they're correct. Like, the people deserve to hear from these leaders. Like, we deserve to hear from Daniel Andrews here in Victoria. We deserve to hear from Brett Sutton at a public inquiry where experts and other people that want to ask questions of them, of their stupid decisions that they make, they should be accountable to those decisions, because how many things have they destroyed with the decisions that they've taken? But yeah, it looks like we're getting the way that the New Zealand's going about it with the former leaders. They're very reluctant to face the choir. The ACT Party, whose Minister Brooke Van Helden holds responsibility for Royal Commission, said it showed lockdown overlords were missing in action and skirting accountability. Those who were asked to attend the hearings were Ardern, former COVID Minister Chris Hipkins, former Finance Minister Grant Robertson, and former Health Minister Aisha Verrall. In their response to the Commission, they said it departed from standard procedure from interviewing former ministers. They said it was convention that ministers and former ministers were interviewed in inquiries in private. Oh, the Commission wanted to be public, but they say they saw no reason for deviating from standard procedure. They expected the broadcast of their submissions would be misused to create misinformation, and they told the Commission footage would likely be tampered with. Seriously, like, literally, you now have these leaders in our countries in the West. New Zealand is pretty similar to Australia, that are so afraid to talk to the public now because the public will hear their words on video and it'll be recorded forever. They're saying that itself is misinformation because of the way that people might interpret the things that they say. I think it's the least that they can do after all the trouble that they caused during that time. And when you look at it today, we know from a lot of the expert analysis that we've done today, almost everything they did during COVID in terms of decision making was wrong. And they should be able to answer for why they took those decisions at least. So because next time that happens, the public can have more trust around why leaders make stupid decisions. Where are we up to? We have been tasked with reviewing those decisions, and we thought it was important that the public see and hear for themselves important evidence about why some key decisions about the response to COVID-19 were made and for what reason. The government at the time thought its ministers made decisions about how we as a nation responded to the pandemic, which had implications for us all. Pretty much what I was saying. But Hipkins said he had already been interviewed by the inquiry twice, and for 2 hours, this is in private, to the point where the interviewers had run out of questions. He also provided written evidence. And it goes on. Look, I don't think we'll ever really truly have justice in terms of the decision makers at that time during COVID. These people are always trying to skirt responsibility. They never want to answer any questions about what they did. And when you watch back videos from the past, like I just got a couple of here loaded of Jacinda Ardern, for instance. Let's have a look at her from the past. Let's have a look at Jacinda Ardern. Let's see how confident she was with her decision making back then and how scared she is now to tell the public why she made those decisions. Ugh. Give me a second. I think my audio stopped working. Great. I think the audio is gone. But this is basically when he was talking about the two different classes of people, where you have the vaccinated, and then they're creating a segregated society of the unvaccinated. And she was very giddy about that. She was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So why can't you now, Jacinda, answer those questions, right? Now that the public has an opportunity to hear from you why you made those decisions that you made, come out with it and tell people, right? Be upfront and be honest. But no, Dame Jacinda Ardern is not interested in any of that. Has the audio been arvied? Has the audio been arvied? Let me just check if the audio has been arvied. Let's have a look. I'll go back and listen to Chalky.
Guys, by the NSN.
Nah. So it's just that particular video, guys. Audio is still fine. Is Benji doing the video audio tonight? Mate. Let me just check. Let me just check a cable. Give me a second. I'll just check something. Maybe I can fix it. Maybe I can fix it. You know what? I'll just blame Benji, even though he's not has anything to do with this, and we'll just blame Benji. That's the best that I can do, guys. But yeah, that was a story, guys, from New Zealand. You can look into that. There's a lot of a few articles now popping up about what's happening in New Zealand in relation to this COVID inquiry. But yeah, suffice to say that I don't think we'll get many answers in a public setting from these people, which is what we really want, right? We want kind of a Nuremberg-style trials for these leaders, because I think that's what they deserve with all the suffering that's happened. All right, guys. So next story that I have here is coming from the UK. Let's have a look into this one. And it's from the UK, but I feel like this is kind of those wild ideas that we might end up seeing in Australia. So British cops wore jogging outfits to elicit catcalls and then arrested some men who hit on them. I'm going to read that article, that headline again. British cops wore jogging outfits to elicit catcalls and then arrested some men who hit on them. So this is a new style of policing. Let me know what your thoughts about this. I'll play the video from that. But give me a second. Pull it up. So many ads now on these websites. From catcalls to doghouse. Female cops in England went undercover as joggers, wearing tight-fitting clothes in a bid to elicit catcalls, and then arrested some of the men who hit on them. Sorry, I'm just I'm just laughing because it's just uh, I don't know. Maybe this is a good thing. The Surrey Police Department created a trial task force, which lasted about a month and led to 18 arrests for offences like sexual assault, harassment, and theft. I mean, again, serious topic there. The female officers were sent during rush hour to hotspots where open sexual harassment of women is commonplace and pretended to be joggers. The report stated one of our officers was honked within 10 minutes. Then another vehicle slowed down, beeping and making gestures like just 30 seconds later. That's how frequent it is. One of the officers in the group said the harassment she faced during the trial period reflects her everyday experience in Surrey. We get catcalled, we get honked at, people slow down just to stare or lean out the window to shout something. It's so common, but it's harassment and it needs to be recognised as such, Officer Abby Hayward told the Telegraph. So that's what's happening in the UK when it comes to policing. Look, maybe there's a lot of creeps out there in the UK. I haven't spent enough time in the UK to know this is the case. Now, we do hear about all the sexual assaults and harassment that happens with these rape gangs and sometimes these Muslim or Pakistani rape gangs that we've heard a lot about. I don't think this is specifically related to that. When I looked into it, it seemed like just public in the sense of all types of people being picked up. Let's just watch the video from that.
Not right. It's for people to recognise that it's not right. It's not just a small act, it's a thing that can make someone feel really quite uncomfortable. So I think it's important Surrey Police are taking it so serious. It's one of our force priorities, and for me that makes me feel proud to work for Surrey Police, because for me it's such a personal experience, and I know for a lot of other, if not all other women who experience it, so I feel empowered to be a part of such an operation.
These women aren't friends out for a run, they're actually undercover police officers taking to the streets in Surrey as part of a new operation trying to stop people catcalling and harassing female runners.
We get honked at, the staring, the hanging out of the window just to look at us, and it's so prevalent.
And police teams are ready to intervene the moment the officers are beeped at, followed or shouted at, pulling people over.
Those kind of behaviours may not be criminal offences in themselves, but they still need to be addressed. And of course, the people that are likely to commit those kind of behaviours, they may then go on to commit more serious offences or more serious behaviours.
So look, what do you guys think of that? I mean, it's mixed reactions online. People are saying that obviously police are overstepping the mark in some instances with these type of tactics where they're literally, it's like, someone was saying like honeypots, setting people up. And it's not really a criminal offense. They were saying there's nothing criminality around it, but it's just like we're going to speak to the men that were catcalling and ensure to them that they know that you shouldn't do this and so on. We've got John here saying interesting tactics. Yeah, I think the only thing is, even with the way the speed cameras work, right? These kind of tactics that these police officers, especially in Victoria, right? I feel like it's like over the top the way that things are done. But the Victorian government might see something like this and be like, hey, this is a great idea. This is actually a great idea to revenue raise if we can fine people for catcalling. But yeah, let's just have a look at this. They ignored the race gangs for years. Yeah, the rape gangs I think you're referring to. And that's a very interesting point. There was very obvious, instances of people coming forward with stories about these rape gangs, which the police ignored for decades, right? And now all of a sudden they're going after catcallers. I mean, is this what needs to happen? Is that really the problem, or is there other issues that they should be addressing? Madeline says it's not entrapment if the girls are running in a normal manner. I agree. It's not entrapment in that essence. And then people shouldn't be doing those things. I agree with that as well. Like, women shouldn't be harassed on the streets just as they're going for a run by these people. Definitely. And this goes to the point, but are they solving real crime? No. Yeah, I think their argument is that they're stopping possibly people that might. They're saying that people that catcall and behave like that in public are perhaps more likely to offend in other more escalated ways in the future. And if they get to them early enough with these kind of tactics, perhaps that will change behaviors. I don't necessarily know that's the case. Yeah, I mean, there is that. Keir Starmer, I believe, at the time was a prosecutor or the lawyer um, making those decisions. So, Economics, you're right. Police didn't ignore them. Keir Starmer refused to prosecute. I know Keir Starmer does have a lot of responsibility for the decisions that he took during that time. But I did see instances of police ignoring things and perhaps even being involved in covering up the criminality, or them themselves being involved in some of these kind of rape gang things. So it's all sick stuff. Imagine you become a cop and they send you out to bait cat callers. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting role. Definitely, it's an interesting role. Perhaps people will get angry about doing such a role. I don't know. Get super chat from Abby. Abby, thanks for super chat. This is ridiculous waste of their time and money. People need to toughen up. Adam says, why did you team up with Avi? You had such a following, and so we loved you before that. Look, Adam, I'm going to have all types of people that are my friends that you might not agree with. Now, I don't agree with Avi on everything, despite what people may think. And that's just the way of the world. Like, we're going to have people and friends in our lives that not everyone likes or agrees with, but you have relationships with people. And, it should never be forced by what other people may think or not. So if as a consequence of it, and I have, definitely I have over the past few, especially the last 2 years, people have gotten enraged about what's happening overseas, and yeah, sure, it affects them for them seeing me be friends with Avi, but that's not how friendship should work. It shouldn't be something that I'm friends with people just because they gain me followers, or I don't want to be friends with you anymore because I'm going to lose followers. That's not what friendship is, and especially as a Christian, I can't behave in that manner by picking and choosing people based on that. I have friends that I have acquaintances that have all types of foreign conflicts going in their countries, which sometimes against people that I personally know. In terms of even within my country itself, there was a civil war between Sinhalese and Tamil people. But I grew up with a lot of Tamil friends, and our country was at war, but I'm still friends with them because we have other common things in common in the country of Australia. So it can't be just about picking sides based on some conflict overseas or some opinion or some ideology that you have. Friendship is more than that, and that's the way that I view the world. But I understand people have views and opinions, and they will try to um, put that onto you and onto others as well. Thanks for the super chat, Abby. I love Avi, and I love him I love him even more in a pink dress and tiara. Yeah, if you guys want to know about the pink dress and tiara, you got to watch the Opposition podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. We may see Avi getting into a pink dress and tiara, so tune in, guys. You might hear more about that from Abby during those shows. Yeah, John says, I agree. We are Australian. Yeah, first and foremost, we're Australian. And you want to have this kind of, especially people on the left that want to decide who you can be friends with and not based on ideologies. Well, you want diversity in this country, right? Right? These are the things that you push: diversity, multiculturalism, things like this. Well, it comes with all types of complications, right? Like I have Muslim friends that I've grown up my whole life with. Now, do I agree with Hamas? No, I don't agree with Hamas. I think they're terrorists, but I'm still friends with people that support what Hamas is doing. And I know they support what Hamas is doing because they tell me they agree with what Hamas did. Now, I don't agree with what Hamas did on October 7th, but I have friends that do agree with it. But I'm still their friend because I don't look at them for that particular view. I understand why they have those views because of the part of the world that they come from, and the views that they've had ingrained with them since they were young people, for instance. And the same thing with someone like Avi. I understand he's Israeli, he's Jewish. They're gonna have a certain view and opinion that is not related to me. Let's go to the next story, guys. I think this is my final story. I'll just pull it up. I can get it going. Let me just find it because this was just happening today. So I just want to give you guys an update on that. Let me just bring it up. Let's read this comment here. Someone here says, F this left and right. DS, children are being murdered. Get your partisan heads out of your ass. Mate, this is the thing, right? There's wars happening everywhere. Like, people don't care about wars like the way that you're thinking. Like, there's people with wars and conflicts and, so-called genocides happening all over the world. And people don't focus on them. I know a few that's happening in Asia right now. When there was a civil war happening in my country, no one really cared about it here in Australia. People don't care. There's people dying all the time. This is all selective outrage. This particular issue that we're involved in within the West, there's reasons that it's kind of highlighted here, but there's conflicts going on all the time. I don't judge people because they don't talk about those conflicts. That's not how this should be. Sorry guys, I'm just looking for this story because I did see it just breaking before. Here we go. Just found it. Can't log in. So it's pretty much, we're talking about all the castle law stuff, the self-defense at home, and Victoria was discussing that. But just to bring attention to it for you, he was actually just defeated in the parliament here in Victoria by one vote. So that's breaking news. Just bloody hell. Says the Allen government has voted against a review of the state's self-defense laws, despite Victorians facing a record surge in violent home invasions. So if you were on the show yesterday with us, where we were talking about castle law, and just around the fact that people just needed to have more ability to defend themselves, more self-defense ability when someone comes into your house, you harm them or whatever, you need to have more protection. Well, that was actually defeated by one single vote in Parliament just about an hour or so ago. So maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow on the show. And the reason that that's the story that I had, that this horrific murder, I don't know if you guys seen this horrific murder that happened in, let's bring this up. Yeah, that's the one. Let me just read this. So Ross Judd fronts court, charged with 2 counts of murder after couple found slain at Mount Waverley. And I saw the news story for this yesterday as well. And this, the news people actually filmed the mother of the woman finding out that she had been murdered in the house, and she was like wailing and screaming. It was quite intense to see that on the news, and I felt really bad for the mum as well. But there is this crime wave that's happening in Victoria. We hear a lot more about murders and deaths and killings. This one is quite gruesome, to the point where the man's head was decapitated by the person that killed them both, killed this woman, killed a man in a Glen Waverley or Mount Waverley house, cut the guy's head off and stuck it on a stake. And the woman that he killed as well was pregnant at the time. Like, this is happening in Melbourne. These are the things that you see in like horrific things in America all the time, these TV shows and stuff. But it's becoming more and more commonplace in Victoria. And I know it happens all the time. There's murders that go on all the time in this state, but it's becoming more common and more horrific. So let's read the story and see if there's any more information about that. The decapitation of a Mount Waverley man and his slaying of his pregnant partner may be linked to a dispute over dogs, as details emerged of the accused killer's McDonald's visit after the alleged double murder. A dispute over dog ownership has emerged as a possible catalyst for a brutal slaying of a couple inside their Mount Waverley unit. I mean, if it is over a dog ownership thing, and to think that this guy that did this is just so deranged. Andrew Morfgun and his German Shepherd Dragon went everywhere together, but locals say friction had developed between him and the accused killer Ross Judd over the canine. It comes as details emerged of the accused killer's grabbing a late-night bite at McDonald's about an hour after the grisly alleged murder of Mr. Gunn, 50, and his pregnant partner, Athena Georgopoulos, 39. This is the guy that's been taken into, I think he appeared before the magistrate today. The couple's bodies were found inside their Ardern Crescent home about 9:55 on Monday. Homeless man Ross Judd, so a homeless dude, was arrested at Westall train station about 1:40 a.m. on Tuesday, but diners reported seeing a man matching Mr. Judd's description at the McDonald's on Dandenong Road, Clayton, about a 40-minute walk from where the alleged double murder took place shortly after 11 p.m. on Monday. One diner who didn't want to be named said he saw the man arrive with his two pet German shepherds. He was barefoot, wearing a black cotton jacket that appeared to be covered in blood. The witnesses said the man grabbed napkins from the counter to clean himself up. The man left the restaurant at about 11:25 p.m. A photo of the German shepherds wearing distinctive scarves waiting patiently outside the fast food joint were posted on social media. So there's a lot more to that, but I think just overly gruesome to think that this man's head was decapitated, put on a stake, and this pregnant lady was murdered by this homeless guy in Melbourne. It's just insane. And the reason I brought this story up was the fact that Victoria just now voted against this castle law stuff. Well, it wasn't defined as castle law, but just self-defense law changes by a single vote. So there won't be any changes happening to that unless it's put to a vote again. So yeah, guys, it's ending on a gruesome note there. I apologize. I'll try to get some of your comments now and finish off the show for today. Let's see what else people have said. We read this one from Abby. Here we go. This is from John Palmer. Thanks, mate, for the super chat. Police should have no role in non-crimes, just enforce the law. That's true. That's true. I mean, it depends how many resources they have. Like, if they have resources, fine. If you have female officers available that you can go and bait men into catcalling you on busy streets to give them warnings, if you have the resources for that, sure. Like, yeah, why not? That's a preventative measure. You can put it that way. That might be helpful. But if you don't have the resources for that, obviously you have to then put your resources where they're needed, and that's actual crime that's taking place, or to help people in an emergency, for instance, like a horrific car crash, something like this, right? That's where you put your resources to. It's kind of like Victoria, where we have the machete bins and things like this. It just seems like, what was it, like $300,000 or $350,000 per machete bin? And I did see some posts today on X where people were like, well, that means you can have at least a set number of police officers employed, right? If you're going to spend a few $1 million on getting these bins for machetes, why not just employ more police officers with that money? That's true. That's a good observation. Now, could they be? They might not be able to catch all the guys with the machetes, but they might be able to reduce the crime rate because there's more police available to do the job. So we always led to wonder what our politicians and lawmakers are thinking when they come up with these plans. This particular one that we covered in England with the catcalling the female joggers, the policemen disguised as female joggers, that I think that's the trial, so it might not see the light of day after the trial finishes. Let's see. All right, guys, let me get to some of your comments. I have not been following them, so bear with me while I read through the comment stream and see what you guys have said. I don't know what Avi is referring to. Why don't you send a super chat, Avi? Go into YouTube, send the super chat. I've sent super chats on your shows before. I think that's the least that you could do. I think he's referring to me talking nice about him. He's saying that I've been paid to say nice things. So Madeline's talking about this self-defense laws that it was defeated today. She's saying David Limbrick says he's just beginning. I've joined the group and signed the Vic Parliament petition. Great. Someone here says that murder is pretty lame considering what you see in Gaza. This again, I know people make these comparisons, but the most important thing when I think about who we are as people in terms of in Australia, murder shouldn't be happening in Australia. Like, before we can stop things happening overseas, which ineffectively Australia really doesn't have any impact on what's happening in Gaza. Our state governments, our national governments, their key focus should be the people of Australia and their standard of living and their rights to freedom, right? The people of Victoria didn't vote in Hamas as their government. The people of Victoria or the Victorian police or the military in Australia didn't invade another country or another territory or whatever and take people hostages, right? So we don't have to suffer those kind of consequences in Australia. We shouldn't have to. So we shouldn't be making these kind of comparisons. For Australia, that is definitely horrific. There's no need to make that comparison. But I kind of understand what you're trying to say, Adrian. But I wouldn't say it's pretty lame. It's gruesome that a pregnant lady was murdered in a Mount Waverley home here in Victoria by a homeless man. And her partner, he was decapitated, his head cut off and put on a stake. I think that's pretty gruesome. It shouldn't be happening here. Adrian says it was on a broomstick. Yeah, I think it was a broomstick. Good observation here, Chris. I'll bet he doesn't get sentenced to life with no chance of ever being released. This is the type of scenario where you see someone, obviously he'll be like, oh, he's homeless and this kind of stuff. His life's been crappy, possible mental derangement as well. And you know what happens with that when it gets to the courts. Madeline, yeah, this is talking about the catcalling in the UK. If you have a lot of third world males arriving, someone needs to teach what's acceptable for sure. Some cultures, like in some places, like men harass women like this all the time on the public streets, catcall and things like this. Now, sometimes in those communities, there's different ways that justice is served out in those cases. I have seen videos of the local communities getting involved and, technically just lynching people on the streets for acting in that manner. And we don't have that type of justice in the West. It's a good thing, I think. But we do have to be a bit more creative. So I understand why the police in the UK are getting creative with that. Spicy FM is always catcalling me, mate. You're gonna have to do a super chat if you want me to go there. I'll give you the links later to the Only Rook channel, and we can discuss that. Or you can do a pretty hefty super chat, and I might consider it, but I can't guarantee that this will happen on this stream. Yeah, there's always trying to bring Gaza. Yeah, I mean, people try to bring Gaza into everything. Again, there's so many conflicts going on around the world. It just doesn't work on everyone. Like, I understand that people are sometimes manipulated and propagandized too, and they're moved by emotional things and things like this. I'm not necessarily an individual like that that's moved by those things because I've seen a lot of horrific things throughout my life happening in different parts of the world, and you can kind of see through some of this emotional manipulation that people try. So that's all the comments, guys. Let's have a look if there's anything else that's worth replying to. Ticker Pro says Indians and Pakistanis can't control themselves. I will admit, like in those countries, there's a lot of issues there, in terms of especially the younger men and their treatment of people in the public. Catcalling and those kind of things. It's culturally frowned upon, but the policing of it is even less lackluster because they're not resourced in the way that we are in the West at all. And there is definitely cultural issues when some of these groups come over and don't assimilate in a certain way. But that's across the board when it comes to these type of issues. Hey, Rukshan, can you tell Avi we are all sick to death of every stream he does? He's about poor Israel. Look, I would love to do nothing more. I think even Avi, them go on our streams and just not talk about Israel. But the thing is, like, there's always Israel and Gaza. It's like a massive issue in Australia as well. Like, you cannot ignore a story, for instance, right? Where you cannot ignore a story like this. Let me just bring it up. You cannot ignore a story like this, or you cannot ignore a story where the Australian Prime Minister is recognizing, Palestine. You cannot ignore a story where it's about a protest on the Sydney Harbour Bridge to do with Israel and Gaza. So it's just a reflection of what we as a society and what our leaders are constantly talking about. Now, should they be talking and focusing on these issues? Well, if you look at what some of the people are saying in the comments, that's what the one thing they care about is about Gaza and the suffering there. So that's why these things come up. Ivan says we need to promote the big day, August 31st. I talked a lot about the rally on the 31st. Ivan, I'm not sure if you're here for that. At the start of the show, I spent maybe at least 40 minutes talking about the 31st. That was all the rage when I was a teenager and chicks loved. I think you're talking about catcalling and stuff. Look, these things have sometimes been cultural norms, right? And then things have gotten out of control. And, there's a time and place, for instance, maybe where it was acceptable in certain societies. But today it's a problem. And it's the same thing with, we're talking about self-defense thing when it comes to homes. You'll hear all the time people saying, well, back in the day, we used to leave our doors unlocked. Like, would you seriously leave your door unlocked now in any kind of inner suburb in Victoria? You'd have to be crazy to leave your door unlocked, right? With the things that are going on. So that kind of, magical time perhaps where, women were walking around and there was like, kind of like Grease, right? You think about the movie, if you look at those, old movies, like a movie like Grease, it is pretty much just boys catcalling girls and things like this. Today, it's frowned upon. How about do one show a week on Gaza and Jews? Yeah, maybe we'll just talk about it on one of the episodes and we'll forbid it on the other episode of the Opposition podcast. So maybe on the Tuesday or the Thursday. But the problem is, like, on the days, really, the top news still tends to be what the Labour government is doing around that. And we naturally start talking about that issue. But look, guys, it's getting a bit late now, and I think I've been on the stream for about an hour and a half, normal kind of time that I do for Rukshan On X. If you're enjoying the show, please make sure if you're new to this show, you follow me on the different platforms that you're watching on. You can find me on X, YouTube, and Facebook at The Real Rukshan. Hit subscribe, hit like, do all those things, share it out. This is a very casual show, so if you're joining for the first time and you're wondering why this, as people noted before at the start of the show, this brown guy is just waffling about and reading comments and talking about news slowly. It is a very chilled show. I'm not trying to be too serious when doing this show. I really want to read your comments and obviously engage with everyone that's on here as well. And just do something a bit different, because I do watch a lot of podcasts. I do watch a lot of shows. Everything's kind of, someone looking at the camera, maybe looking at a teleprompter and reading stuff. I don't even prepare what I'm doing. I just have a few news stories open and then I just go with it with whatever people are telling me sometimes as well. So if you enjoy this more casual format of just chatting with me, seeing the comments, being involved in the discussions, trolling me as well, make sure you're following me and watching Rukshan On X. I do it on Monday nights and Wednesday nights, usually around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. depending on what's happening. And also, you can also catch me on the Opposition podcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Thursdays at 7 p.m. with Avi Yemeni, where we might talk about Israel and Gaza, because that's usually, like your comments said, that's what's happened. But guys, thanks again for joining for another show. Good night if you're watching from Australia. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon for wherever else you're watching from the world. And I'll hopefully see you all tomorrow on the Opposition podcast at 7 p.m. Take care, guys. Bye.